Well, another episode of STD came around, and yeah, I watched it. This one called Through the Valley of the Shadows. Yeah, or is it Through the Shadow of the Valley? No, it's through the, yeah, you get it. Well, it did have one cool scene in it, but how you get there is just ruins the whole thing. Yeah. So, you remember the time crystal? Yeah, well, it turns out the Klingons have a whole mine full of them. And it also happens to be the home of a monastery where Ash, Tyler, Vok, whichever one, mostly Ash, sent his son to be safe from the Klingons, because he's supposed to be dead. So they got to go there to get that time crystal. And Pike's determined to do it. So he goes over there. He meets with... Mother, I forget what her name is. The one who raped and tortured Ash and they had a baby. Yeah, that one. They visit and she's explaining the monastery and everything. And then Ash Tyler is like, I want to go there. And she's like, no, you can't. And all this stuff. Well, it doesn't matter. Pike ends up going. The monks are telling him there's no way any of those crystals will ever leave this monastery. And then Pike says, I'm not leaving without it. All right. So come on in, let's take a look. Well, time crystals, yeah. Boy, in the original Star Trek, the Enterprise discovered time travel. They didn't even know it was possible, but they did it by accident. And then they discovered, yes, by using gravitational forces, and you slingshot the ship and all that. You see, they tried. They tried to come up with something based in science fiction on how to achieve time travel. But here, all you need is the magic crystal. And it's even on a, I was saying it's planet Mustafar, and someone else was saying it's Mordor. So I guess planet Mordor is more accurate, considering the Klingons look more like orcs now. So yeah, it's a magic crystal. And it turns out one of the monks that guides Pike towards the crystal is the son of Ash Tyler. And wait a minute, the guy looks like he might be 30 years old. And well, time operates differently. He's really not even a year old, but there. Wow. Okay. So, I mean, if the crystals are warping time on that planet that much, 200 years could have gone by before Pike gets back to the ship. So, geez. So, there has to be a sacrifice before you can take the magic crystal. And Pike, he's willing to risk it. So, gee, what's the sacrifice? Well, he grabs the crystal and he sees his ultimate fate. And, well, we already know what that is. Pike suffered injuries and was exposed to severe radiation trying to save some people. And that he ends up losing just about all of his body, and his face is all melted and whatnot, and he ends up stuck in that Devros chair. I mean, Devros at least had an arm. But so he sees all that, and you get to see the scene acted out, and they're in different uniforms. At least they thought of that, and but it doesn't look anything like the original show. But who's to say what they were wearing on this particular mission or whatever? So he sees all that. He's horrified by it. It floors him. He probably needed some toilet paper after that. But still, he's on the mission. He has to complete it. He needs that time crystal. And because the monk tells him, if you don't want to suffer that fate, leave the crystal here, and you won't. Which, why? Because it's magic. That's why. The curse of the time crystal. So there you go. It's cool that they recreated the chair. You get to see all that. They kind of look, at first, it looked like they had the scarring right, but he looked way worse. But that was part of the nightmarish scene he's seeing, I suppose, and the experience of it. But he has to take the crystal, so he does, and he's doomed himself to that fate. Now, of course, he knows what's coming. So, Pike, when you run in there to save that officer, just don't do it, because he's going to die anyway. So that's all he's got to do. Oh, but anyway, so he's got the crystal and he heads back. Meanwhile, Burnham, the real star of the show, and her brother Spock, yes, that's right, brother Spock, they're chasing after Control, who has taken the Section 31 ship, and they take a space shuttle and off they go, chasing after it. And they come to the point where they expect to find it, and then it's there, but the whole crew is floating around dead in space. and that's actually another cool scene, and special effects wise, they do a pretty good job of that. With it, it's all really, horrific with the bodies floating and frozen and all that. And then they find one that shows life signs, and they beam it aboard, see the guy in a spacesuit. And of course, out of all those, it turned out to be a former crew member of the Shinsu, and Burnham knows him and hugs him, and it's good to see you. What's been going on, man? And the guy explains, Control took over the ship and all that. And then Spock says, we got to get on that ship, and so they do. And they're trying to locate Control, which of course Control could be the entire ship. It's, but whatever. And they're working on that. And then Burnham and I forget his name, the guy they saved, they're going to one part of the ship, Spock's in the other, and they're working on this. And then we realize, the guy's not who he appears to be. No, he's been infected by the nanobots. So, he was dead all along. It's just the nanobots, reanimated his corpse. So there's a fight there, and he explains to Burnham, don't pick up your phaser because I'll leap over there and break and smash the bones in your hand within 1.8 seconds or whatever. I'm like, good Lord, if he's that fast, it's hopeless. But of course they get in a struggle, and Burnham holds her on. She's shooting him with the phaser, and then he manages to get her on the ground, and he's about to inject her eye with the nanobots because they need her to be taken over. Because she's Michael Burnham. She's special. She's wonderful. She's amazing in her connection to the Red Angel and blah, 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 blah. So all of that and the data and whatnot, it's trying to get. So Spock realizes this, and he's trying to get in there and save her too. And it's a big struggle. He's trying to drive that needle or whatever it is into her eye like it did to Leland. And she's managed to hold him off despite his superior strength. So how'd that happen? I don't know. She's Michael Burnham, And then Spock comes in with his Vulcan strength and pulls the guy off. And to remind you just how strong the guy is, he lunges Spock across the room and he smashes into the wall. So, yeah, I don't think Michael Burnham could have kept him from injecting her eye. I just don't. So there's more fight, and she's able to put a hole through the guy, and then all the nanobots come pouring out, which just goes to show, why didn't he just barf the nanobots into her face? They would have gotten up her nose and everything. And there you go. Michael Burnham is now Control. But now they didn't. And then you can see where the special effects budget is finally really showing some cheapness here, because those nanobots coming after her looked like crap. So Spock's able to do some whamma jamma on the circuitry there and magnetize the floor. So that pretty much takes out the nanobots, and yay, everything's fine. And so they figure they know what to do, I guess. Oh, and before I forget, the absolute worst part. I thought we were done with Tig Notaro, who plays Jet Reno, but she makes an appearance here. She's a couples counselor trying to matchmake for Stamens and Dr. Culber, Hugh Culber, and she talks to Culber and talks about her wife having died in the Klingon War, and he's like, you're wasting your second chance, and you don't want to, ruin what you got or whatever. She just cannot act, and it's just no good. And it's terrible when she's supposed to work with the other actors and they're doing their part, and it doesn't rub off at all. So yeah, one more appearance by that. I mean, they should have maybe made her the robot girl, where she just gave robot answers like this, but then admit she probably couldn't even do that. I don't get it. Why is she there? Any one of the friends who actually know the two of them would have done this and say, look, come on, you got to give this another shot, whatever. But yeah. So I guess they just they had to drag it down, even though they really shouldn't have. Oh well, what are you gonna do? So they get back to the ship, they meet up with Pike, and then suddenly they realize the entire Section 31 fleet is now approaching them. So obviously Control has taken control, because that's what Control does, of the whole Section 31 fleet. And they're saying, well, we're no match for that, and there's nothing we can do. And they can't use the tardigrade spore jump because they're being sued for that. so of course, Burnham, as she always does, overrules Captain Pike, basically, and just... Yeah, Burnham was supposed to be raised and trained by Vulcans, and yet she's so emotional to the point of being irrational often. And then it's another dumb scene where the writers just don't understand the definition of terms like logic. Where Spock says, "You're angry." She says, "I'm not angry. I'm enraged." Okay, so, but anyway, yeah, she always interrupting Pike, and does it. So she's supposed to have been trained by Vulcans to be rational and whatnot. She's not. She's supposed to have been trained by Starfleet to be, an officer. She doesn't act like that. She doesn't respect command structure or anything, all that. And that happens again and again and again. But anyway, the point is they're in a hopeless situation. And she says their only option is to destroy the ship. So that's how it ends. And Pike's going to set up the auto-destruct sequence and blow up Discovery. And I guess there'll be some sort of, maybe they'll try to evacuate and that sort of thing, but, with the ship destroyed, the data should be destroyed, which is interesting because the Red Angel told them to destroy it, and yet she's the one who sent them to the sphere to get it. So if she knew the data needed to be destroyed, why did she send them there? If she figured that out, why didn't she go back in time and stop herself from sending them there? Yeah. Well, so I guess the next episode will wrap it all up and explain everything. I think you're just going to have to just insinuate that the Red Angel incident is why this Star Trek looks so different and doesn't fit in with Star Trek at all. And plus, they're going to suddenly retcon the Borg. Because, maybe they'll be smart enough not to just drop that. Don't make this the Borg. But, because the Borg's supposed to be much older than that. And, well... So anyway, there you go, another crappy episode of STD. And even the special effects are starting to fail, because that was the best thing they had going for them. But, yeah, there you go. All right, thanks for watching. Yeah, no stars. This was terrible. It's too bad about Pike and Ensign Mount. You had a possible series there. I don't have a problem so much with Ethan Peck as Spock. His voice, I think, has got it down pat. He doesn't really look like him, but still. And boy, you could have done a Star Trek story of the early adventures of Pike and all that, and the Enterprise and whatnot. But no. We can't have nice things. All right, again, thank you for watching and listening. Say, why not like and subscribe? And while you're here, check out that link description below. That'll take you to my mini stores that have plenty of goodies for you.
Flash Gordon in Space Soldiers Conquer the Universe. They conquer the universe because they're in outer space. And, well, that's... what else they gotta do? Look, I'm a soldier and I'm ready for war, but peeing on the enemy just doesn't sound honorable to me. Don't look at me or I can't go. What are you flapping your gums about? Well, off the beans, Joe.
Oh, this is a happy day.
Not a day went by when I didn't think of you.
I rush to the palace as soon as your rocket...
In your laboratory, sire, I have perfected...
Gender reassignment.
It is already capable of killing every living creature, of depopulating the universe.
With their genitals mutilated and switched around, they can't reproduce.
Follow me to the tunnel entrance.
I'll follow your tunnel anyway.
Knock it off, Flash. My thumb's caught in your jacket.
Well, my hair's caught in your shirt button. Let me get around here. No, not that way. Oh!